episode 186, Why Utopia Must Die.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And we are back with another rather philosophical episode on Monday. Welcome to the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Now, last week, on Monday, we started off with why, is bio-digital convergence the key to eternal life? And without any intention, this Monday for me started rather philosophical as well, in that I was really contemplating the entire week about the visions associated with, this utopian concept of a digitally connected world, where your persona is almost forcefully and inevitably intertwined with, your digital passport, and all the currency is going to get digital, and so on and so forth. And I got conflicting feedback, to say the least. There were some people going apeshit that, this is not something desirable at all, because all aspects of privacy would be down the toilet. And I totally agree, right? Yet on the other hand, would this be actually the key to eternal life? And if you could live forever by, quote unquote, just giving up your privacy, I don't know whether that's a trade-off. I'm still contemplating. That's why, I thought that I would use this Monday to discuss whether or not utopia can ever exist. And the reason I chose the name for this episode is because utopia just cannot exist. In that, you're going to have some people, just take this example, right? You're going to have some people who are willing and would stand in front of the line without hesitating to forfeit, their privacy, to forfeit their whatever, essentially their physical life, in favor of being able to transfer their conscience and their knowledge to the cloud, for a lack of better terms. And I found this thought interesting because I believe that nothing, especially in the last 200 years, where humanity has, not only grown, but excelled exponentially in terms of scientific discovery, in terms of making sense of stuff, right? Science, of course, like everything, got fucked over by capitalism. Let's face it. So the concept in which science is, something that it's just a matter of funding. Come on, let's face it, people. The only scientists that are truly at liberty to move science forward are those that are retired and those that don't rely on grants and funding, corporate funding, etc., to be steered into a certain direction. I think the most prominent example of that was the sugar lie that happened in the United States. I believe it was in the 60s or 70s, where the sugar industry made the world, against all odds and against better knowledge and due to corporate funding, successfully made the world believe that it wasn't sugar that was responsible for obesity, but that it was fats, right? think of that. Kind of idiotic, but let's not go down that route. However, I think that, science science was responsible for humanity's advancement, humanity's significant advancement in the last 200 years, at least. That's, I think, when with the industrialization, this exponential growth just started to happen. I mean, there's 60 years between the Wright brothers launching their plane in Kitty Hawk and 60 or 70 years, and Neil Armstrong setting foot on the moon. Just let that sink in, right? The Earth's been here for what, 14? No, that's the universe, I think. Whatever, quite a few billion years, right? And it took us only 70 years to, first launch something remotely discussable as an aircraft, and sending someone to the moon, and more importantly, bringing them back safely. So where am I going with this? Utopia, yeah. Those thinking that we could thereby excel humanity's advancement even quicker by, avoiding what I discussed in last Monday's episode, that we don't have this learning curve, that basically everyone would share their knowledge, and there would be AI in the background that would make sense of all of this knowledge and all of this experience and, all of the conscience and soul aspects and whatever, that we could basically live, either physically, or bio digitally, as the term was coined, or, anything else along those lines. Now, that being said, that's not going to be utopia for everyone. For a lot of people, that's going to be insanely scary, right? Losing their liberties, losing their freedom. And that's a point worth discussing. While it's an argument brought forth often by the tinfoil hat faction, paying with cash, being able and at liberty to anonymously buy something, that's something essentially good. And a few years ago, I was in Davos in Switzerland and had a discussion with some bankers about taking away the opportunity of cash, as was done in Scandinavia. Not entirely, but they're making it more and more difficult to pay with cash. And while I think, the data whores, essentially, those people where you shove all your data into, like Facebook and everything, they're totally apeshit. They want to know what you buy, when you buy it, what your habits are, because then they can make more money. But at least you want the possibility to be able to purchase something anonymously. And here's the catch. If you take cash out of the equation, a very interesting development starts to happen. Criminals will always be there. That's a fact. We won't get rid of them if we get rid of cash. Right now, with cash, we have the possibility to trace criminals way better than we would if we took cash out of the equation and the criminals would run towards cryptocurrency. Right? So why not leave the status quo? That's where the question of reason comes in, right? And a very interesting route I won't go down today. So one man's utopia may be another woman's dystopia. And while I think we're being blindsided at the moment as humanity, and there's a big push towards, all digital currency, which opens tons of opportunities for control. The question is, where do you draw the line? Where do you personally say that is an infringement on my privacy? Is it maybe an infringement on your privacy if all of your health record is in the blockchain? with a consequence that, like in the United States, if you have a pre-existing condition, that will be ruled out generally out of your healthcare plan. Something which in, quote unquote, socialist Europe doesn't fucking exist. You get health insurance and everything's covered, period. Yeah, you can take out private plans and they ask questions. But the, quote unquote, socialist insurance system that we have here doesn't give a fuck. It's a human being that signs up, period. That's all. There are questions. Are you a smoker? Do you exercise regularly? But those are not conditions that they can rule you out from. But getting down to a more down-to-earth example. I used to be in Sri Lanka a lot. Now, somebody from the Western world that crashes there is going to be fucking flabbergasted by traffic. They're going to be overwhelmed by all of the military checkpoints because until recently, well, more or less recently, they were in a civil war. So, every kilometer or mile or so, you're going to encounter a military checkpoint because there are still bomb threats and bombs blowing up occasionally. Not big ones, but, still, still kills people. And so for me, going there was utopia. Because of the chaos, and despite of the chaos, there was order. An order you couldn't see as someone that, just looked at the hustle and bustle going on. But still, there was, in traffic, there were hardly any accidents, which, by Western standards would be prone to happen, right? But for me, being in this place was bliss. It was just such a fucking awesome experience. You wake up in the morning in your hotel at, whatever hour. Some people probably earlier than me. And you look down and you see this big, you see this mist everywhere, spreading around in the city. You've got the lush green palm trees. And I thought, for the longest time that there was fog coming in from the ocean in the morning, while in fact it was, just tons of incense that they were burning in all of the temples, which led to this pristine smell, So this was one of the hotels that I would actually go down in the morning to smoke my first cigarette after breakfast, just to be able to capture this misty sun coming, or this distorted sun coming through the mist, illuminating these, this luscious green vegetation and this smell. My God, it was just this overwhelming feeling that you got. So I talked to other people who were also in Colombo quite frequently, and they were like, holy shit. I was so fucking glad that I was out of this hellhole faster than I could think. And that's, one of the things of perception. So the question is, does utopia, or does a utopia, have to exist for everyone? And I think for it to work, it does. But at the same time, it can't. Because there will be those, let's get back to the utopia that we described earlier, where presumably, everything would be better if we were all cloud connected and our souls and knowledge and experience was, preserved even after we had left our physical body. Question is, those people not included, what would they do? That don't want to be included, that don't want to take part in, this digital currency thing, which is, obviously about to be dropped upon us. So they can either be forced or attempted to be forced to participate. That's number one. Number two, they could revolt. Or number three, they could just open up a secondary market outside of the system. And the question is, would these people be more wasteful with resources? Would it be a barter system that would initially rise? Very interesting routes that could be discovered in that sense. Now again, I don't know, I'm fishing, but still, I think we're moving into a direction where humanity can advance, but most importantly, learn from previous mistakes. So we can either participate in the neo-capitalistic system that may or may not be before us, with perhaps, this biodigital convergence being our actual key to eternal life. Or, we can just carry on as we did, but do so more responsibly. So in that sense, I hope I left you with something to think about for your week. And I seriously hope that we're going to be back in touch tomorrow, which will surely, tomorrow you're not going to have your phone integrated into your head. So tomorrow's episode is still going to be, downloadable to your phone. And we're going to be in touch tomorrow. Take care, folks. Bye.